Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to EA Tetragrammaton, where we are playing This is turn 161. Up to things. Right, so let's just do it. Got a bunch of horror attacks. We've got 2 attacks on Ruax, King of Magma. If I'm remembering correctly, Ruax and Pyroflogos, we had them making fire boosters. And cross our fingers that we don't lose them because of that. So this first one, you know, it's pretty safe to just watch that because it's just a horror, and obviously if there's a second one, he lived through the first one, so success there. But we will watch this other one and see how things go against a Defiler of Dreams. A little rough because of the invisibility, because of the damage reversal, and because of the life drain. Because if this guy gets going, he can heal himself up quite a bit. Ruax is kicking ass though. Armor of Knights, Horned Helmet for extra attack, Flesh Eater so that he doesn't rout. He has lost an eye and lost an arm though. Lose that in the previous one? Oh my goodness, deleted. That was nice. Arm. What happened up here? Already have that? Yeah, he had already lost an arm and an eye. I think he loses the eye because of the eye, though. Well, when he lost an arm. Matter, but. Man! He's got really high attack skill. And this Flesh Eater, with the amount of strength that he has, he just fucking whaps with that damn thing. Like, holy shit. That is actually really difficult for someone to survive going in on him. That's kind of funny. Then we have Pyroflogos up against 6 Belly Maws, which Belly Maws aren't the scariest of horrors from a defensive standpoint. They're not that hard to kill. They do have a lot of armor-piercing attacks that can really fuck somebody up. Pyroflogos has decent-ish defense, though. So maybe he's going to be able to kill them. Ooh, look at that falling fires. Burning through them. Flame Eruption. Bad. Starting off with some decent damage, and then coming in with the Moonblade, which is ×2 versus magic beams. He's also got very good attack skill, very high damage. Oh my god. These guys count as magic beams? They do. That's funny. Just fucking destroyed. Very cool. Like, they just kicked ass. Oh, I'm skipping frames. Uh-oh. I am trying to do a lot of stuff. In a momento, let me drop down some. I'm rendering a whole bunch of other stuff, and was I think doing downloads. I'm not skipping frames now. Alright, sorry about that if that is the case. Anyways, moving on. We've gotten attacked by a Defiler of Dreams over here with our Enkidu Bone Reader. And this is somewhat troubling because our Enkidu Bone Reader is one of the only ways that we make Shade Mail Hauberkins. Okay, oh my goodness. Alright, so we got hit right there. But we managed to get, did we manage to get Iron Skin off? No, we got interrupted. Ooh, Hand of Death. Just fucking one-shot that guy. Wow. That work. It just hit him with a 44 damage Hand of Death. What the fuck is Hand of Death even? Super familiar with that spell. Hand of Death is It's an Alt 1 spell, requires 2 death, and it has a range of 1. That's why I never see it. But dear Lord Jesus, it's got a 50% casting time, fatigue cost 5, and it does 40 damage, plus an additional 5 per level of death. It's armor negating and ignores shields. Holy shit! What the fuck? Power of the hand is strong enough to kill giants. That's kind of crazy. And it just says it counts as a ranged attack. So it's precision, I'm guessing? That seems pretty strong, actually. Damn. Kind of surprised. Well, I mean, obviously, like, if mages get into combat, they tend to pop, but I'm kind of surprised that I haven't seen that more frequently. That's a lot of damage for an Alt 1 spell? Holy shit. Damn. Alright, anyways, next up, so that's good. Our Bone Reader survives. And then our Into, which is the only way we make, Skill Title of Alternaces, gets popped by some bone brass claw horrors. This one does not go well. These guys are very scary from a kill standpoint. They just hit so hard. All right, we've got a whole bunch of various casts, bunch of cloud trapezing, a little bit of mind hunt, which we were successful on. Nice. Some Kusarikus. Gudu 296 gets hit, dies, unfortunate. Lich 3 does Lichcraft, gets hit, dies, unfortunate. Kind of surprising that he loses to just 2 Horror Mantises. Well, I say that, but Horror Mantises, again, they have a lot of attacks to clear chaff, so. More Cloud Trapeze, another Lichcraft, dies to a Hunter of Heroes. Let's check this real quick to see if we get Soul Slayed, because that's the big fear. Okay, no, and we can, we'll see very, very easily, because we'll see a 999 if we get Soul Slayed. We did not, so that is good. More Cloud Trapezing, or more Infernal Tempest, more Cloud Trapeze, more Curse of Blood, Kusariku's. Another Kusariku's attacker or caster gets attacked by Defiler of Dreams and dies. Another Kusariku caster gets attacked by Belly Maw Horrors and dies. Unfortunate. We're losing a lot of Kusariku casters, but honestly, like, we've talked about this before. Our Earth Gudus are kind of the least important things we have now. More Cloud Trapezing, more Cloud Trapezing. Actually got away, it looks like, with all of our Cloud Trapezing. Didn't get hit by any horrors over Cloud Trapezing, and that's kind of surprising. So we had, with all that Cloud Trapezing, we had 2 Magic Phase attacks, 1 in Moss Woods. Go ahead and watch this. So 5 Air Gudus versus 3 vampires is going to be the main focus, and the goal here is can our air elementals get to them and get things done before the PD or the undead get to us and kill the shit out of us. So air elementals in the back, seems like they're doing pretty good. They've already demolished most of the vampires there. That's really awesome. The second wave of air elementals comes in and catches the PD. Very good. That is a victory for us. So 5 air Gudus take out 3 vampire lords. Very nice. Obviously these aren't permadeaths for the vampire lords, but what we're trying to flex, what we're trying to see is, and we'll talk more about this later, is how effective can we diminish his rating of my lands, thus empowering my rating of his lands, right? Because rating tends to fall into this raid, counter raid, raid, counter raid, raid, counter raid kind of cycle, where if you are more effective at raiding, will slowly but surely push your opponent's lane, right? Like if you have more raiders, you can hit more. If you hit 20 provinces every turn, and they only hit 15 provinces every turn, then eventually you're going to outraid your opponent just because you have more effective raiders that are capable of pushing into more territory. So these Gudus are flexing our ability to counter raid, even though these aren't going to be perma kills. If we can kill them, toss them back to wherever they came from, and make them... That's not the next turn, they're not raiding my lands, right? They're respawning. And then the turn after that, right, they're having to move into position. And then the turn after that, then they can raid, right? So, just a little flex to see how this works. Next one, Cave of Madness. And this one is 5 Air Gudus against 5 vampires. So this is a little bit more. See how this goes. Air Elementals go up. Air Elementals come down. Air Elementals go up. Air Elementals come down. And it looks like my Air Elementals in the back are doing pretty well, but we are getting hits, or we're getting approached. Oh shit! Okay. So we just barely get them there. I think we're going to modify our script ever so slightly. So we were successful there with 5 Air Gudus versus 5 Vampire Lords. That's really nice, right? We just popped 8 Vampire Lords in 2 little groups, which means that's not a super effective raiding strategy. He has been grouping up his Vampire Lords and his Liches, right, in order to make sure that he can win against my 20 PD stacks, which has been effective. And also it helps him win against other things that I throw out there, like Titan or things like that. But this has even if I were to lose some Gudus, right, this has a pretty high success rate, it seems. Depending on whether or not we're successful with Astral Corruption and getting hit by horrors. So I'm liking this. This is pretty good. We're going to test this further. We've got a pretty good blood hunting scenario this turn. Gala 60 dies to a Gore-Tide, unfortunate. And then we've got the endless scenario. We're just going to flip through all these. We'll watch anything that looks... We lose to a stack of undead, unfortunately. 2 vampires versus a decent stack in the High Woods. We lose... PD versus a stack of undead. We hit in Cloudcap Spires and win versus PD. We get hit in Yellow Caves and lose. This is unfortunate, right? Like, I was really hoping that our... Where are we at? Yellow Caves. Yeah, so this is in the middle of our kind of empire. I was really hoping that we'd have better success out of this type of scenario. So watch this real quick. Got a decent sized little cluster of units here. Very high HP. But I guess this is kind of an unfortunate situation because we're actually in darkness. So the cavemen do well, but all the rest of our units do pretty poorly. I think maybe if this wasn't in the cave, we would have a better chance here. But as it is, the skeletons have no such limitation with their spirit sight, their undeath nature. So, but that being said, they're not super strong in the first place as far as like attack skills go and things like that. But it's enough that the undead are able to win out against the cavemen and the guards. It takes them a little while to chew through though, because we've got so much HP. They're hitting way more frequently, we're hitting less frequently, but when we hit, we normally kill. So that's kind of unfortunate. I think, again, maybe if that had not been in a cave, we would be better off there, but generally speaking, my point is I'm not winning as many of the 20 PDs versus like 2 or 3 vampires as I was hoping I would. Undefended province taken from us. We hit in Utivania and win just against PD. Get hit in Stone Heavens against PD, lose against PD, lose in Norville, against PD, lose in Jorgar. We hit in the Womb, 2 Liches, Vampire Lord, and some Storm Demons. We get hit in Ross by a Vampire Lord. Not a big deal. Get hit in Forest of Spring by 3 Vampire Lords, and lose there. Get hit in Sinkhole Swamp, and you can see it doesn't say beaten or win, so let's watch this real quick. Banka attacks and this is kind of a mutually assured destruction strategy, which I kind of found interesting. Generally speaking, we should win this. A Vampire Lord up against a Lich and a Ishib, along with a decent little stack of undead already here. But what he does is he summons Lamashtus. So we can see, as soon as he does that, he summons in onto the side these Lamashtas, which are angelic undead beings. They have invulnerability 20, fear, ethereal, and they have a wraith sword. So they have life drain and they hit really fucking hard. And they're flying. So they appear, and the thing about them is they are hostile to everything on the map, but they will tend to focus on your enemy if you were the one who summons them. So one lands on our Lich, and that sucks because he's not going to be able to do anything about that. And then he summons more, right? So he brings in another wave of Lamashtas. So there are 4 on the field. And these things are pretty gnarly. And then he flees, right? And as soon as he flees, it's done. But now we're kind of stuck facing off against these things. So the water elementals do okay against them. But our dude back here, after summoning 2 water elementals, he's fatigued out, so he can't really do anything else. So we're basically just hoping that these water elementals kill them without him getting popped. Which... well, that doesn't happen. So, he flees. And there are... Lamashtas still on the field. We're confused. How do we quote unquote win this? I don't know how we won this, but we can see if we go to Sinkhole Swamp, we retained the province. And we retained the province with 1 PD. I have no real understanding of how we retained the province with 1 PD, but we did. So, whatever, I suppose. I kind of feel like that's a situation where it should have gone independent, but I don't know if there's something else that the game was calculating. So anyways, we attack in Sciatica and win. We lose Swande because it's undefended, because I think it's 0 population, so we can put anything there. We get hit in Terrace Peaks, lose. We get hit in Mag, lose. We get hit in Resting Heights, lose. We get hit in Baden-Weld, lose. We take Troia. We get hit in Ivermark, lose. We hit in Wick and win against this Crystal Mage, which is kind of interesting. We'll watch this real quick. I think I'm still getting a little bit of a frame issue here. Kind of whatever. Not like you have to see a whole bunch for this game for it to make sense. Anyways, we are summoning. There's this Crystal Mage over here that has put up Iron Warriors and Luck and Ethereal, but he put Ethereal on this guy instead of on himself. So I think his plan was to put Ethereal and Iron Warriors on himself. so that he might be super hard to kill. And then he starts casting solar rays, right? So I think the idea there is the hope that he can get a couple solar rays off and maybe get a lucky solar ray off and pop a lich or something like that, and then be really hard to kill, but it just didn't work out that way. An interesting idea, but it did not happen. So that was Wick. We lose Trottern. We attacked Relay in the Moonsea. Apparently, I misclicked. Fortunately, there wasn't a lot going on there, so we didn't lose anything, and Relay really didn't lose anything. We've taken Obelshin, got hit in Bakar and lost. We attacked in White Peaks and won. Fucking opening tomb. We got hit in Halamire and lost. We took Murius and won. We hit Greenwoods and lost, actually. This is another one of those scenarios. We won't watch the whole battle, but this is another one of those scenarios where it was kind of a Pyrrhic victory on his side. He loses most of his undead and is left with just his liches, which, I mean, not that he is going to care there. But this is another of those scenarios of, you know, I have a frost brand instead of something like a fire brand, so I'm really not cleaving through stuff like I should be. And then I don't have anything like fire shield or anything else to really like kill. So we just get surrounded by undead, and you know, this tart is basically unkillable by these liches unless they hit him with something like disintegrate, or unless they're really lucky with like drain life spam. They hit him with a bunch of decays, but it doesn't really matter. Hit him with the occasional drain life, and he just regenerates through it. So again, not a big deal. But like I said, we're not going to watch it. Eventually, we break, we run, end of story. But we killed most of the undead, so that's nice. That was Greenwoods. Hexwoods, we hit and win. Range of Shadow, we get hit and lose. Barren Crags, we hit, and it's another very similar scenario. Excepting in this one, I believe he tries to life for life me, but I don't think he's successful. Yeah, so he does the Sabbath Slave, Sabbath Master thing. And then he starts to horde of he puts some skeletons out in order to, yeah, and now he starts to life for life me. But and he hurts me quite a bit, really does. But he's not able to finish me off. And not being able to finish me off, this tart has Fire Shield, which does kill a fair amount of enemies, along with Scutata Volturnus, but doesn't have a Firebrand or something like a Mace of Eruption. Regardless, this one is able to press. Eventually, these Raktapatas fatigue out and burn out, but I think the scenario that happens is this this tart would very much eventually get to these vampires due to the amounts. I say that. I think we're gonna see, yeah, so they're fatigued now. We're gonna see quite a bit less spam coming out from them. So we should see her begin to move forward slightly. It kind of, it's a crapshoot. Not if... Wow. Never mind. It was really not working out. So I'm assuming she just doesn't make it to them before they rout, so not a big deal. That is a victory for us. Oh no, she doesn't make it to them before she routs. Eventually she's just like, nah, and she retreats. But she retreats successfully, so that's... Barren Crags, we get hit in Omiya. We lose Underspring. then we have a series of events. Unrest and misfortune in trackless wastes. Sloth and Old Man Mountains. Unrest and minus population in Hidden Realm. And we lose the lab in Hallwoods, which is kind of annoying because that's where our one of our thrones is. So we're going to put that back down because we need that there just in case. Had a scout discovered in Centennia. Else patrols. New famous hero, vampire reformed. There are undead. There's an undead zapper in Hexwoods, so good to know. Okay, so let's talk about something real quick, and it's kind of it's the elephant in the room, but you can see there are a lot more attacks coming from Lanka than there are from me. Lanka has a shit ton of vampires in effect. I have more vampires that I could pull, but I have a lot of them in reserve for my armies. And I have a lot of them blood hunting right now, right? If we stopped, or if we pulled out off the blood hunting vampires and the vampires that we have in reserve, we would have another, I think, 21, 26, we'd have another like 30 plus vampires, which is a lot of vampires that are kind of, I mean, they're not doing nothing, right? They're just, some of them are in reserve, many of them are blood hunting, and others are patrolling, right? So, but this is one of those scenarios where it's kind of like I'm accumulating resources, but he is denying me resources by pressuring me and hurting me. And he is being more successful with that than I am. I did a count. I took 14 provinces this turn. He took 20. Well, oh, not okay. That's not true. There were 14 battles that I won, and 23 battles that he won. Now that some of those battles are over the same provinces. Some of those battles, you know, rinse repeat. Actually, that's not even true. It's a combination of provinces and battles. Regardless, the point is he is raiding me more than I am raiding him. Most of my raiding is actually counter raiding, with a little bit of raiding here or there. We are, I'm not going to say we're being more successful, but generally speaking, I kill more of his stuff than he kills of my stuff. I think this turn, for example, we killed 8 vampire lords and he killed 2 of mine, right? I killed a whole bunch of undead this turn that he brought in as chaff, and I think he killed a couple storm demons, and that was about it for this. So it's not to say, it's not like, oh my god, everything's going really badly in my direction, or really badly for me rather. But it is a slow decline. He is pressuring me with the amount of raiding that he is doing. So, a lot of what I am trying to look at right now is how do we expand our counter raiding capabilities? What are we able to risk? Where can we go from here? And one of the things that we are doing this turn is we're doing a lot of cloud trapezing. So, for example, we're doing 25 cloud trapezes this turn, targeting 5 different provinces where he has liches or vampires, etc. And the goal there is to see how effective it is. You know, last turn we had a very good ratio. We didn't get any of our cloud trapezers intercepted by horrors due to astral corruption, right? But that's not going to happen every time. What happens when we get 4 versus 3? What happens when we get 2 versus 3, right? So one of the things that we have mixed up ever so slightly is the script. We are going to put up mist form before we put up air elementals. This is dangerous because this means that they will get more casts off and potentially be able to go off script and annihilate the air elementals with things like disintegrate or drain life or hand of death, who knows. But it also does give our air gurus some more survivability should some of them get intercepted and fewer of them show up at the attack site. And certain, if they get more PD gets on top of them or undead gets on top of them, a mist form will hopefully keep them alive long enough for the air elementals to do their thing. It also is very cheap mist form. It only costs 10 fatigue, so it's very unlikely that it's going to seriously impact their timing on casting the second air elemental. So hopefully that is fine. So we're doing that, right? We're going to... The hope there is that we are going to remove more of his raiders from play more reliably, and thus dampen his capabilities of raiding us. If we are doing that, right, then we're rebalancing that ratio, right? From 14 to 33, if we take out 5 of his next turn, right, we're also kind of adding in 5 of ours that next turn, kind of like turning it to a 19 to 18 kind of scenario. But if his raiders are dying and having to respawn and then having to come back out to the front lines, then we have a scenario where we potentially can aim for an even better ratio, right? But this comes at a hefty price. We had, I think, over 400 air gems in the last turn. We're using, you gotta think, every time we are doing one of these cloud trapeze scenarios, we're using 3 air gems for the actual cloud trapeze. So we're doing 25 of them, so that's 75 air gems right off the bat. So a lot of air gems. That's more air gems than we make in a turn, and we make a shit ton of air gems in a turn. And then it's another 4 air gems per each caster. That's another 100. So we're doing 175 air gems or 25 cloud trapezers at 5 provinces. And you gotta also keep in mind, right? Okay, is that worth it? Right? Maybe. Probably not that aggressively. Probably what we're gonna... It might be worth it to front load for a turn or two, and then afterwards be more surgical. Only ever do it if we find like a good pot. Like if he combines too many liches and vampires into one group, like a 5er or something like that, then pop that one. But obviously it's not something that we can do for a continuous period of time. But the hope is that maybe we can, you know, throw it in our favor and then start swinging back into his territory. Okay? The other thing is we're probably going to start looking into... the last several turns, we've been trying to focus on defending our blood hunting locations, which is going good. That's fine. I like that. We're about done with that, though. I think the last vampire that we need for, you know, having a 5 blood hunters and 2 lifers scenario, I think he's on his way now. It should be this guy, Vampire 55, going down to Perenna. We've got Vampire 54. That'll be lucky number 7 over here in Kohnberg. We're going to have to start moving pretty soon from Tenera to Neotha. Perenna's not going to be able to last for much longer either. We're probably going to have to move to Tirania. Kohnberg can last for a little while longer, but doesn't have super great options on where to go. I guess probably up to Scrawl Point. We had originally talked about Olantova and Assad, but that's going to take a little bit to prep. Probably just pop over to Scrawl Point and go from there. Fortunately, we do have quite a while left in Dershit. We are not doing this next turn, or not doing this turn, but next turn, to kind of help swing things, we probably will be pulling all but the required individuals, i.e. like 1 vampire and 1 lich per army, and then all the rest of them are probably gonna fucking go. We are And we're then, aside from that, we're continuing to just hit everywhere with our tarts and our currently active liches and vampire lords. We're also trying to flex our control, our capabilities with bitch. Knew I'd change something with what we currently have active. So let me give an example here quick. We are over here. We are attacking into Halamire with NC-19, who's just got a big old stack of guards and some Yetis and stuff like that, right? So if we can hit a province and then walk back, hit a province, walk back, hit a province, walk back, that type of thing, there's not... If we can flex our... We don't have to just keep our army all holed into this... one fortress here, this one fortress here, this one fortress here. But we do have to be careful, because if we send someone out, we expose them to teleportation or things like that they can get targeted with. We also want to make sure that if they're going out in our territory so that they don't get flames from the sky. I did consider going out into the wetlands this turn, but I'm not doing that because I do not want to run the risk of getting anyone popped by flames from the sky. So there's that. We've got a lot of stuff going on here, and to the point to where I think it's going to be kind of confusing or difficult to go over every single one of these. You see the results of our rating when we go through all the battles. And I'm keeping a running tally, like I said, right? We got 14, lost 23 this turn, so that kind of is what it is. Real quick, I'm going to go over the rituals that we're casting and the forging that we're doing, and then we're going to talk about probably what's the most important two things that we are working towards for the upcoming turn. So, forging or ritual casting. Obviously, we have the 25 cloud trapezes. We've got 5 summon Kusarikus going on. We've got a Curse of Blood, Infernal Tempest, and Forces of Darkness. So pretty light on the ritual casting this turn. I mean, except for the shit ton of cloud trapezes. As far as forging goes, we've got an Amulet of Anti-Magic, Storm Spool, 3 Armor of Knights, 2 Shade Mails, I believe. Yeah. I only have 1 listed on here. So we've got 2 Shade Mails. We've got 1 Ring of Regeneration, 1 Firebrand, 2 Demon Banes, 3 Dragon Helms. We're also doing a Mace of Eruption. I can't do Firebrands on everyone, unfortunately. We only have 1 really good Firebrand forger. So I'm going to start doing Maces of Eruptions. Mace of Eruption it's not as good as a Firebrand. But it does have a similar AoE that I think will be helpful for getting through things. It's definitely going to be better than our fucking Frostbrands, right? Getting through the undead. So, fingers crossed on that. We're also considering putting in some Boots of Quickness here in the near future. For the appropriate Tartarians that can use those. But we're not doing that this turn. And then the other thing we're doing is we're making 5 Skull Staffs this turn. We are going to probably start dumping, and this kind of goes into the other thing that we're talking about. We're probably going to start dumping some more Liches out. But we're kind of in this, it's kind of a shitty scenario. When we make a Lich... We typically lose the Lich that makes the Lich, so it's kind of this weird crisscross applesauce bullshit situation, so I'm not sure it's actually worth it. But we're low on Skull Staffs anyways, so we're just going to make a bunch of Skull Staffs, and hopefully that will see us through. We've got 2 main focuses. In the next 5 to 10 turns, we're probably going to launch an attack on Jawal Kish or Sleepy Wolves. I am trying to prep for that. Part of what I'm trying to prep for that is things like shade mail hopperkins, things like groups of air gudus, etc. When we go for either Javalkish or Sleepy Wolds, it is going to be very likely, and here's the thing, he might go for us first, so this might put a whole crimp in our plans, but when we go, if things go according to plan, when we go for Javalkish or Sleepy Wolds, the plan will be to hit a good portion of the lands around it. So for Javalkish, for example, we would also hit Shambhalak, hit Trackless Woods, hit a bunch of these other scenarios, etc. And fucking flambe the shit out of Javalkish. Or, again, Sleepy Wolds, right? I.e., 4, 5, 6 flames from the sky. As such, we are sending Flame 6 kind of back over into this area. And we're gonna look into potentially making another set of flame boosters, fire boosters. We also have the Robe of the Magi and the Sword of Many Colors as fire boosters. So technically we have a group of 4. Ring of Wizardry can't be paired with anything yet. It's only 4. But we could get 5 and put the Ring of Wizardry on something as well, and then have 6 casters. Okay? And that could mean that we could do 3 at Javalkish and 3 elsewhere, or we could put 6 down on Javalkish, or etc., etc. We got a lot of options there. But that's kind of what we're gearing up to do. On the flip side, we are making a little bit of a feint. And we are sneaking a whole bunch of Fiends of Darkness into Ivanmore. And we're sending them with 2 Incies that have Shademail Hauberkins on. Okay? And the reason we are doing that is because we are sending them towards Grainport, where we are now gonna be stealthing some units and trying to see what's going on there. Because there's the possibility, and if Grainport looks like it's not a good fit, right? There is always Sleepy Mountains, but Sleepy Mountains looks a real fucking bad, right? My assumption is that Grainport is gonna be a big fucking no, right? Just a big fucking no. It's gonna have a shit ton, just like Sleepy Mountains. It's gonna have a shit ton of units there. It's not gonna be a feasible target for us, with just 150 Fiends of Darkness, right? But if it's not, right? If it is more protected, right? Or if it is less protected for whatever reason, there is the, unlikely as it may be, there is the possibility that we could just move over there, and one turn, pop the fort, right? It's very likely that the wall integrity is only 250, and Fiends of Darkness have 5.8 siege strength, so sending 150 there is more than enough to pop a under-defended fortification, okay? And if that is the case, we might have a very cheesy win all on our hands all of a sudden. Because if we pop the fort, we can teleport in a fair fucking number of units, right? Whether that be through Cloud Trapeze or what have you, right? And it's not like a perfect scenario, but who knows, right? If that is not the case, that doesn't mean that all is lost. And in fact, I think I actually need to swap this, because I'm gonna take a look at Ultima Tifia as well, right? And I was gonna look at Lapinta down here, Lapinta, because if we find that you know, there's a stack of 260, mostly nothing else, right? Like, just undead. A bunch of Fiends of Darkness can probably take that, right? Especially if they're mildly supported by something else. And if we can all of a sudden one turn pop, even if it's not just the actual like throne fort itself, but something else like Ultima Tifia that's right next to it, or Lapintha that is pretty close. Then after that, we can teleport a bunch of things in, and that can really change the landscape of the battle, right? All of a sudden, I am behind enemy lines and close enough to threaten Thrones of Ascension, and he has to start putting efforts into keeping that down, which means that's less efforts raiding, or less, you know, efforts threatening, etc., etc., right? So we've got a couple of different ideas that we're working on there, but for the most part, it is still currently status quo, still testing out things, still aiming for stuff. Another thing to note, this motherfucker stole a damn Gregory. I don't even know what the fuck? Excuse me? I have no idea how this happened, because you can't wish for Gregories, I don't believe. And they have such high magic resistance. It's kind of astonishing to me that there's the possibility that they failed an MR check against Charm or Enslaved Mind or something like that. I guess they could have been seduced, but even then, a crazy MR check. Like, somebody's exploding dice over there. Like, insane. And very scary. Actually, very, very scary. Very unhappy about that. Another thing that we're potentially looking into, right, or we're kind of waiting on, is we got our god killed, right, which isn't the biggest deal, but we do have somewhat of a bless, right? Magic weapons, precision 3, fire resistance, magic resistance. We've got hard skin on top of that and regeneration on top of that. So the regeneration kind of gets overridden by the fact that we actually cast regeneration in almost every fight, but it is useful in a lot of different situations. So, you know, we're not idling, but it would be nice to have our god back as well. Another scenario is we're pushing Dom, right? So I'm trying to be very cautious about utilizing my astral pearls currently. But once we finish, oh, I say finish, we could try to eventually push our Dominion and cast a very high, like, Wrath of God or something like that. I don't fucking... Anyways, I think that's probably about it for this turn. I've just been kind of like hemming and hawing at this point. A lot of stuff going on, but none, aside from this little feint, which I don't think is going to amount to much. Probably not a lot going on for the next few turns until we suffocate or start flambeing things. So, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye, everybody.